Hi, hello, and welcome. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back, Titans, for another video. We are going to be discussing the Idaho 4 case today that we've been discussing on and off actually since November 13th, the day that it happened. I'm sure if you're watching my video, you are well aware of the case that I am talking about. But in case you are not familiar with this case, it is involving the victims, Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, who are both 21, Xana Kernodle, and her boyfriend Ethan Chapin, who are both 20. They were all killed in their off-campus apartment, with the exception of Ethan, who was spending the night, by alleged killer Brian Kohlberger. So basically on this channel, we have been going over everything that we can go over with this case, and Airmail has come out with another article that I wanted to share with you today. If you haven't checked out my previous videos on Airmail, I do have 3 videos up. Airmail is basically I'll bring it up here. It's a news article that has come out, and they had 3 different perspectives. So they had 3 different parts, and it was in the eyes of the killer. And then now this one is a new account, and so it's it's called In Cold Blood, Idaho, Instagram, and Incels. So I wanted to bring this to your attention tonight. It's only a 9-minute read, so it's not too terribly long. The first one and the second part for the first set, they were 29-minute reads. So this one is fairly short compared into comparison. So I'll go ahead and get into it. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so by clicking the subscribe button. Please like the video. It is free to do those things, and it really does help my small channel grow. And I really do appreciate each and every one of you. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. It's In Cold Blood, Idaho, Instagram, and Incels. The alleged Moscow student murderer's behavior is straight out of the Incel playbook. This is by Nancy Jo Sales, February 18th, 2023. This came out. On Instagram, Madison Mogen showed us a certain kind of perfect life, whatever struggles she may have endured before falling victim to a killer one night in Moscow, Idaho on November 13th. On Instagram, she is always smiling. Her account is like a prototype for what social media culture demands of young women and girls, that they look happy, sexy, occasionally pensive, and above all, inevitable. Mogen 21 shows us the life of a pretty blonde American college girl, a popular sorority girl. She was a member of Pi Beta Phi. She poses in formals and bikinis and the cutest outfits, as she describes them, often popping her foot or bending down playfully, touching her knees. She strides gaily into a building at the University of Idaho. In a post she captioned, "Heaven is a place on earth." She visits Cabo in Jamaica with friends, many of them blonde young women who resemble her. "Lucky me, I have the best friends ever," Mogen captioned a picture of herself going jet skiing with 2 other blondes. "Beautiful, cute, stunning, gorge." Her friends commented on her post, fulfilling their duty per social media conventions to comment enthusiastically and with many emojis. It's chilling now to think that Brian Kohlberger could have been watching all this, seeing Mogen with her sweet smile and twinkly eyes, living her seemingly perfect life. You wonder if it made him angry, jealous. Was Instagram for him like a gallery of women to date, or perhaps target for violence? Kohlberger, 28, formerly a graduate student at Washington State University, has been accused of killing Mogen and her roommates, Kaylee Gonzalez, 21, and Xana Kernodle, 20, as well as Kernodle's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, 20, entering the girls' house around 4 a.m. and stabbing them to death in their beds. A story that Airmail contributor Howard Bloom detailed in this publication. In January, people reported that Kohlberger had followed the 3 female victims on Instagram, and about 2 weeks before the murders, messaged one of them repeatedly. He was definitely persistent, said an investigative source on the case. He slid into one of the girls' DMs several times, but she didn't respond. Basically, it was just him saying, "Hey, how are you?" But he did it again and again. And we did talk about that on one of the lives, that how if you're not set up to follow that person back and forth, that sometimes those messages go into a private mailbox. Sometimes you don't even see them. So it is very, very plausible that whoever he did send those messages to, that person didn't even see them. It's chilling now to think that Brian Kohlberger could have been seeing Madison Mogen with her sweet smile and twinkly eyes, living her seemingly perfect life. Having a random guy slide into their DMs, direct messages, if you don't know what DMs mean, wouldn't cause most women alarm. However creepy, it's now viewed as a regular feature of modern dating, with magazines and YouTube videos advising men on what types of messages to send in order to get a response. Most women will simply ignore the guy, which is what Mogen reportedly did. You wonder if being ignored made Kohlberger irate. So I guess they're saying in this article that it was Madison, that it was Maddie that he was reportedly stalking maybe online and reportedly messaging on the Instagram app. Let me know in the comments below what you think on that. It says, was Instagram for the murderer like a gallery of women to date or perhaps target for violence? The police haven't told us the motive in this case, but it seems like everybody has a theory. Women I've spoke to have said since the story broke that they believe the Idaho state murders were committed by someone who hates women, which unfortunately wouldn't be surprising. Femicide is under discussed problem in the United States, where nearly 3 women are murdered every day, most often by current or former intimate partners. In the Idaho case, it was the look of the victims that first raised suspicions that this was a hate crime. There was the fact that this happened in a house full of attractive girls. Chapin was just visiting. That's Ethan. And the nature of the killings by knife as the victims lay in bed seemed like a horrifying substitute for rape. A former FBI agent, Jennifer Koffendorfer, told Newsweek days before Kohlberger was arrested that she believed the murderer was an individual with absolutely horrible murderous desires against these women and perverted those thoughts and anger towards women in general. They're known as incels. Here we go down the incel rabbit hole. Since Kohlberger's arrest, there has been mounting speculation about whether he qualifies as an incel. Incels, short for involuntary celibates, are heterosexual men who blame women for their lack of romantic success. On hundreds of online forums, websites, and blogs in the so-called manosphere, they promote women-hating and anti-feminism. They also tend to subscribe to white supremacy, and their rhetoric is often violent. Over the last decade, incels have been tied to dozens of assaults and murders, as well as a couple of mass murders, including the 2018 attack by Alec Minison, then 25, who plowed a van into a group of pedestrians in Toronto, killing 11 people and injuring 15, predominantly women. The incel rebellion has already begun. Minison, I know I'm saying his name wrong, sorry. Minisonian wrote a Facebook post prior to his attack. We will overthrow all the Chads and Stacys. In the lexicon of incels, Stacys are beautiful, typically blonde girls who deny incel sex. Incels believe it is their right to have sex with Stacys, forget about what the Stacys want, and hate them because they can't have them. They see Stacy as stupid and shallow because they prefer men who incels refer to as Chads. Square-jawed jocks who enjoy great success with women do only incels say to their handsomeness. You can now see how an incel might have regarded the house where the Idaho victims lived as a veritable nest of Stacys. The surviving roommates were also pretty blondes. This was the house Kohlberger drove past at least 12 times as if doing surveillance, which police say they know from his cell phone records. What was he looking for when he reportedly rolled past? Was he already planning an attack? Or was he looking for a glimpse into what he saw as a golden world full of beautiful blondes and their popular clique? Kohlberger's apparent obsession with girls deemed out of his league goes back to an early rejection in middle school in Brodheadville, Pennsylvania. His heart was reportedly broken by Kim Kenley, a future high school cheerleader. By all accounts, an overweight, awkward boy, Kohlberger would become relentless in his pursuit, repeatedly leaving love letters in Kenley's locker and telling her he liked her, reported the Daily Mail. She'd say, "Oh my God, leave me alone," Kenley's mother, Sandra, told the paper. Kohlberger's apparent obsession with girls deemed out of his league goes back to an early rejection. In interviews, former classmates say that Kohlberger was bullied by the popular girls in school. They literally tortured him, said an unnamed source. In his senior year of high school, he lost about 100 pounds, apparently in an attempt to fit in, turning himself into a frightening-looking version of Daniel Day-Lewis in The Age of Innocence. But this extreme physical transformation couldn't change Kohlberger's personality, which reportedly still felt off and now was becoming aggressive and mean-spirited, according to former classmates. In high school, Kohlberger reportedly started taking heroin to dull the pain of his existence. He later went to rehab to get sober. I feel like an organic sack of meat with no self-worth, he wrote in an online forum when he was 16 in 2011. He developed a rare condition, visual snow, that's where you see spots before your eyes, which he said coincided with an increasingly absence of emotion. And yet, through his trials and tribulations, Kohlberger was apparently still harassing his female classmates. If he liked or was interested in a girl and she wasn't, he didn't understand why or just didn't accept her saying no and move on. Dominic Clark, who attended elementary and high school with Kohlberger, told the New York Post. Sorry, guys. Later, Kohlberger reported misogyny extended to locker room talk. There was a comment that he made that it was kind of Flapgate guy talk thing. Benjamin Roberts, a fellow grad student at Washington State University, told CBS News. At one point, he just idly mentioned, I can go down to a bar or club and pretty much have any lady I want. Okay. If he liked or was interested in a girl and she wasn't, he didn't understand why or just didn't accept her saying no and move on. From everything we know about Kohlberger, this sounds doubtful, the bravado of a man who would like to be a player but drives a white Hyundai Elantra. At Washington State, where he was pursuing a PhD in criminology, Kohlberger reportedly turned off his female classmates by mansplaining them to them. Okay. His peers said he rankled some people with a habit of over-explaining and sounded particularly condescending when he spoke to his female classmates, the New York Times reported. In the manosphere, incels like to talk about how they suffer from women's disregard, never taking responsibility for how their own misogynistic attitudes and behaviors might be what's pushing women away. Another window into Kohlberger's apparent failure to connect with women is the story of Haley Wiglet, 26, who in January posted a TikTok about her Tinder date with Kohlberger 7 years ago, when she was an undergrad at Penn State Hazleton, and he was probably living with his parents in nearby Albrightsville. Willett told said Kohlberger kept trying to touch her, making her uncomfortable until she finally got him to leave after which he messaged her saying she had good birthing hips, a small detail which suggests that Kohlberger may have spent time in the manosphere. Incels believe that women exist purely for their reproductive and sexual capabilities, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center. One can see now how an incel might have regarded the house where the 4 university victims lived as a veritable nest of Stacy's beautiful, typically blonde girls who, in the lexicon of incels, deny them sex. 11 days before the Idaho murders, according to the New York Times, Kohlberger had a meeting with faculty members at the Washington State University, which had been investigating his professionalism and his conduct around women and his role as a teaching assistant. Some female students reported that Kohlberger had made them feel uncomfortable, including by allegedly following a female student to her car. He was fired in December. Incels like to be known for when they kill people or when they have a conquest like this. Dr. Carol Lieberman, a forensic psychiatrist, said on Court TV, on the night of the murders, the killer left his knife sheath on the bed where Mogen and Gonzalez had been sleeping. That knife sheath bears Kohlberger's DNA, according to the police. But if Kohlberger was indeed the killer, you wonder how a grad student in criminology managed to forget this vital piece of evidence. Did he leave it there accidentally, or was it a way of marking his kill? If the killings were sexually motivated, then the sheath was akin to a discarded condom, proof that its owner was the one who had been there violating these popular good-looking young people. Before Kohlberger was arrested, a Facebook group devoted to discussing the murders was visited by a user who called himself Papa Roger. Some group members later noticed that the person with the username had guessed rather too accurately about the knife sheath being left at the scene. Of the evidence released, Papa Roger commented weeks before the police released this detail. The murder weapon has been consistent as a large fixed blade knife. This leads me to believe they found the sheath. Some people believe Papa Roger was Kohlberger himself, which which would make his username a nod to his identification with incels as well as a kind of brag. Elliot Rodger was the name of a misogynistic terrorist who killed 6 people and injured 14 others in Isla Vista, California in 2014 when he was 22 before turning a gun on himself. Rodger is a hero to the incel movement, which the U.S. Secret Service's National Threat Assessment Center has identified as a growing domestic terror threat. Through his murder spree and his online manifesto in which he blames his loneliness and isolation on women for refusing to have sex with him, Rodger became the incel king. All hail the supreme gentleman, Elliot Rodger, Alec Minison wrote on Facebook before his 2018 Toronto attack. Incels cheered. We are haunted by the last photo Gonzalez posted on Instagram just hours before she and her roommates died. There is Mogan smiling, sitting on the shoulders of Gonzalez. They were like sisters, inseparable since 6th grade. There are Coronado and Chapin embracing. Whoever killed them killed 4 people with loving connections, the types of connections Kohlberger never found in life and conveyed it to others. The senselessness of it is infuriating. Is that why we've become so obsessed with this story, and yet many other murders occur that are shocking and deserving of our attention? So why the Idaho victims? Could it be that we're obsessed with the Stacys as incels are? Dead white girl, holy grail of podcast, remarks BJ Novak as the cynical podcaster in the movie Vengeance. And then that is all of it right there. So I wanted to share that with you guys. This is the last photo that Kaylee did put on her Instagram. What do you guys think of the article? Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to know. Maybe we'll have to look into the incel theory a little more on this channel. We really haven't done that. So maybe we'll have to get into that. Let me know if that's something that you guys are interested in talking about. Drop it in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. And I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye, guys.